The country that gave the world K-pop, cosmetics, smartphones, and cars has endured centuries of oppression under empires. When Korea finally regained its independence, it was too late. The peninsula was torn in two, one nation but two ideologies. This is the story of Korea. It began in the 8th century when the Korean peninsula was divided into three kingdoms. Goryeo in the north, the most warlike, Byakch in the southwest with a powerful navy and ties to Japan, and Silla in the southeast, which seemed the weakest. But it was exactly this weakness that became its strength. In the 640s, Silla formed an alliance with China's Tang dynasty to conquer its rivals. It succeeded. Byakch fell in 660, Goryeo in 668, but China had no intention of relinquishing its new territories. Instead, it established military administrations, effectively trying to absorb Korea into its empire. That's when Silla rose in rebellion. Through partisan warfare and popular resistance, by 676, 10 forces were expelled, and Silla united almost the entire peninsula. A golden age followed. Buddhist architecture, cultural flourishing, scientific achievements. Yet internal clan conflicts, weak central authority, and a rigid class system led to its collapse. By the late 9th century, Silla disintegrated and the Goryeo dynasty emerged. The origin of the name Korea. Goryeo was the first dynasty to unify Korea under its own rule, with laws, army, diplomacy, and culture based entirely on Korean foundations. But in the 13th century, Mongol invasions devastated the peninsula. Cities burned, people enslaved, and Goryeo became a vassal state. Mongol princesses married Korean kings, and it took over a century to free itself. In 1392, Goryeo fell and a new era began. The Joseon dynasty succeeded, lasted over 500 years. King Sejong the Great invented Hangul, the Korean alphabet, so even commoners could read. Science, medicine, and law progressed, but beneath it lay a strict Confucian order, harsh social hierarchy, and oppression of women and slaves. Then came an external storm. In 1592, under Toyotomi Hideyoshi, Japan invaded. Korea burned, but national hero Admiral Yi Sun-sin defended the peninsula with his turtle ships. The invasion ended, but peace would be short-lived. In the 17th century, the Manchus invaded. Korea agreed to tributary status and retreated into isolation. By the 19th century, the world was transforming, but Korea, labeled the Hermit Kingdom, remained closed. When Western powers and Japan demanded trade rights, Korea refused. Clashes erupted with France, the USA, and Japan. In 1894, Japan defeated China on Korean soil and began colonization. By 1910, Korea was annexed. 35 brutal years followed. The Korean language was banned, mass repression, forced labor. Koreans resisted, revolted, and escaped to China, the USSR, and Manchuria. But liberation was still decades away. In 1945, Japan surrendered. Korea was liberated, but divided. Soviet troops occupied the north, American troops the south. The 38th parallel became the border, and within 3 years, two Koreas emerged: North communist, South capitalist. In 1950, the Korean War erupted. North Korea, backed by the USSR and China, invaded the South. The United Nations, led by United States, intervened. 3 years of devastation followed, killing millions. In 1953, the armistice was signed, but peace remains elusive. The militarization zone is still secured with soldiers and mines. South Korea began the 1950s among the world's poorest nations, plagued by poverty, unemployment, and dependence on the United States aid. But in 1961, General Park Chung-hee seized power, pragmatic leader who imposed top-down economic planning. Modernization was aggressive, disciplined, and fast. Fearing another communist takeover after Vietnam, the United States heavily supported Seoul with loans, technology, and military aid. South Korea's cheap, educated workforce and strong work ethic fueled its transformation. The government nurtured large family-owned conglomerates like Samsung, Hyundai, LG, and Kia, granting them low-interest loans, aid contracts, and export support, all in exchange for growth. Education became a national priority. In a single generation, the South Korea became one of the most educated societies in the world. Between the 1970s and 1980s, the economy grew at 10% annually. In 1988, Seoul hosted the Olympics. The 1990s brought democracy, the internet, K-pop, dramas, films, makeup. Yet behind the soft touch, South Korea remains highly militarized. Modern army joint exercises with the United States and tense border with the North. Today the South races into the future. The North remains stuck in the 20th century, ruled by the Kim cult, plagued by starvation, missiles, parades, closed cities, and fear. One people, one language, one history, yet two nations.